The seeking energy is always wanting it to be something else, and through that the identity forms, through this seeking energy. So the seeking energy imagines itself, so it imagines itself on this body. So this seeking energy imagines who it is. So it imagines that it's somebody in time, a body in time, and your thought processes are always about what you have to get to, what you have to be in time, where you have to go in time, what you have to do. You're always imagining yourself in relationship as well. So you walk into the cafe and you imagine yourself in relationship with all these people and what all these people feel about you. And then you seek to give them the self-image that you want them to see you as. So you seek to try and behave in a way in which you'll be likable or friendly, or rather than there is this moment, the intimacy of what's happening, and there is response coming out, and you're being whatever you're being, and it's innocent. And that way of being is most probably habitual, but it's innocently happening. The separate self is watching itself once removed and very involved in itself. It always needs to be something. So that separate self is always imagining what it needs to be, what it should be, what it doesn't want to be, and it's always attempting to get to that. It's trying to be the perfect person. And what it does is the mind is free, and the mind imagines negative and positive situations, normally more negative situations, because the mind is a problem fixer. So it thinks, but if I go into the cafe and suddenly I bend over and my trousers split, this is going to be a disaster. So then you're paranoid about your trousers splitting. And the reason it does that is because our minds are designed to fix problems. Our minds are designed to find what the problem is and then fix it. So it begins to obsess about itself. And all the time, whenever these thoughts begin, they create feelings in the body. So there could be indifferent feelings, and then you see someone, you get paranoid about what they think of you, and then there is a seeking to rectify that. And then this seeking doesn't end. It keeps going, or it lasts for a long period of time. And it builds over years and years and gets more and more intense, dependent on the particular way you're set up, whether it's seeking to try to be the perfect person for everybody, seeking to never make a fool of yourself, seeking to always have enough money, seeking to be rich, seeking to have lots of things, seeking all types of things, and it obsesses about these things and continues and creates this story of you that was once removed from what's happening. Rather than the flow happening, so this moment expressing itself innocently, so when you walk into the cafe, rather than this once removed image of yourself in relationship to everybody, there is just response happening, just acting happening. And it's obviously coming from that particular conditioning, whatever way that body's conditioned. And I'm not saying it's going to be the perfect person. It's not going to be this perfect, enlightened person. It's going to be conditioned, and that conditioning will change and evolve and grow. But that's not the point. The point is this dropping into this moment, and in this moment it's really miraculous, because right here there is no divide between internal and external world. In this moment there is only wholeness, there is completion. It's only in time that this separation happens, and this energetic field, which gives the appearance of being inside a body and existing in time. And right here, this isn't happening for anyone. There is no one which this life is happening for. It's just happening freely. It's empty and full simultaneously. It's this empty looking and this I am. And freedom is coming back to that flow. And after the awakening, there is going to be patterns of old seeking energy that will come up and get acted out, but those will dissipate more and more in time. So there'll be old streams or old mind thoughts that come up that are very removed and distant, and those will dissipate. But it's this seeing that this is actually what you want, and that's how this shift happens, is by this real knowing beyond the person that home is actually here, and home isn't found in being the perfect person, in getting all these things. It's found right here, in the middle of everything. Even if you're going bankrupt and your partner's leaving you and your whole life is falling to bits, this moment is still free. This isn't a depressive thing. It's not a negative thing. It's not something for the person. So the person says, how can I be in the moment? Not realizing that the moment always is, and the person is involved in itself, and they're supporting, and what the person arises in is the moment, and the person's like, how do I do this? And it's off in time again. So it's not something that happens for you. But it's this dropping away for no one. And then life happens, and it's love. And then there is this natural flow to the human. And that again might take time to express itself after the awakening, this natural flow. Some old karmas or habits will come up, or be exposed. But there's this natural flow, and in this natural flow, the body is moved by these natural wants, not seeking energy, but these natural wants that are free. And life takes care of itself. If there is this flow happening and a focus on these natural wants, life works itself out. It's nobody's job or effort to do it. All that's left to be done is to let that flow happen. This is it, baby. I don't say that as much as I used to. This is it, baby. So what I look at with people is I look at the seeking energy and expose to them what's happening in the human world, And then I also point out the absolute. And when I'm pointing out the absolute, that you are this moment, that you are this freedom, that's a resonance that's happening. This remembering beyond the human. And then when I'm talking to the human side, it's the human looking at what it's doing and understanding what it's doing energetically and emotionally, that it has these thoughts of insecurity or fear come up. All seeking energy goes into two categories at the base of it: fear or lack. So lack of love, so seeking to get love, or seeking to avoid fear. So it always comes to these two categories when you take everything back. So on the surface, the seeking energy might be to make everyone think that you're super special in some way, and go in to a restaurant wearing really fancy clothes and designer clothes and treating people in a certain way in order to get respect. So that might be the seeking energy. But if you go deep into that, underneath it all, there is this sense of lack of love, that you're trying to seek to get love and feel fulfilled on the love level. It could also be fear, that in that situation you're afraid of people and you're seeking to avoid fear. So they're very close, those two. So it always comes down to those two dynamics, the seeking energy. So when I'm talking with people personally, I point out what the seeking energy is doing. So if they get caught in certain patterns, like certain mind loops, if they really dislike their job and they keep getting stuck in certain mind loops about a certain person at that job, we just examine what feeling is arising towards that person, and we allow that feeling to come up. So we acknowledge where it is. It will be in one of the chakra centers. It will be somewhere in the body. Sometimes people think their emotions are in their heads, but they're actually in the body. And you can feel them all over the body, like the chakras go all over the body, but their main areas they go all over the legs and the arms, but the main areas are in the torso. And we just identify it and make it more clear what's happening, so the person understands what it's doing, that it has thoughts about things and judgments about things, and then quickly there is a discomfort in the body, or there is an excitement maybe in the body, and then there is a seeking to try to fulfill it or to avoid it. And then the mind can get stuck on that. And we just examine that. We might also look at times that you felt it in the past. And then finally what we do to move it into the positive is we look at what that energy actually wants. Like, what is it that's actually wanted? So I want to be respected by my colleague. And then I try to encourage people to focus more on what they want rather than what they don't want or what they feel they lack. And this is inherently positive and will put you more into flow. And as you get more into flow, then there can be a resonance with this non-duality. When there's lots of seeking energy, there's very tight condensed energy in the body, and you feel very removed from this moment. As that personality begins to relax, then it can be heard. Who you are is this. And this is endless. This isn't happening to a personality structure. This is happening to this immense force, creative force. And that's who you are, this creative force. You are not a limited entity. You are this creative force. It's so exciting. So you are that which the person appears in. So in your mind you might think, I came into this room. I'm sitting watching Lisa on the TV, and later I will leave this room, and when I leave this room I leave the moment and I go into another moment. But actually that's all mind made, and that's not true. There is always this moment, and what's happening is thoughts and images about past and future are appearing in this. and that gives you the appearance that you're walking through a world. So right here, the fact that you walked in and sat down and are watching me is thought, and that thought manifests as an energy. But what's actually happening is there is this moment. And when you were walking into the room, there was this moment, and then there was a thought about leaving the hallway, coming into this room, and a future event. So there's always this moment with thoughts about past and future. You're not actually going into different moments. That's what gives the appearance of separation. You believe your imagination more than what's actually happening. Like, when does a moment end? When you go into a different room? But how? How does it end? It suddenly like cuts and then start. When you get in your car? When you drive to work? When you get to the office? When does that moment start and stop? Or is it always one moment, one consciousness and sense of I am, and in it appears images of past, that you were driving to work, that you woke up this morning, and then images of future, but actually you're always in this moment, and this moment is still and in movement. It's happening and it's not, and that's its freedom. The human suffers because it's always holding on to time. Where is the problem here? I'm sorry. I did some gas out of the mouth again. Everyone says it, because I thought to myself, do I let out so much gas when I'm in everyday life? And I don't think I do. I think it's something about talking a lot that makes me swallow air. Talking gives me gas. So this is another thing about the idea that you have doership and that you have free will. So this body is speaking now, but how's that happening? How is your hearing happening of me speaking? But if you start speaking now, if somebody rings you on the phone and you start speaking, how is that speaking happening? How are you doing it? Who is doing it? Like, it's so amazing, it's so immediate, it just comes out. Especially when you're like with friends and you're just laughing or chatting about something and it just is coming out. I mean, right now it's just coming out. And it's amazing. That's really miraculous, because it's got nothing to do with an individual entity. If it had something to do with you, you'd be able to say how you did it. How are you speaking? How are you hearing? Who is hearing? How are you bumping the heart and moving the blood around the body? How are you producing thoughts and images? The thoughts say it's me doing it. Me, 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 me. But how are you doing it? How did you make this body alive? How do you make it walk? When you're walking along, try to see how you're making it walk. The thoughts say, I want to walk because I want to go to work. And then it gives the appearance of a separate entity. But who's experiencing that person? That person comes and goes. It's not a solid thing. It just comes and goes and says, I am walking because I need to go to work, because I need to earn money and I need to hurry up. But how is that happening? Who's doing that? Isn't that miraculous? And who's experiencing it? So those thoughts feel like you, but notice there's something that's experiencing that. Those thoughts are being seen, like you see the world, like you see other people. There's something conscious of them, and who's that? Who's this silent witness? Silent witness. The same with the speaking. The speaking is being experienced, and who is experiencing that? I love this subject. Hey Lisa, I am here in this sacred moment with you. Hi Andrea.